a great way to start.
Hello, friends and brothers, and Bumblebee Tuna. Good to see you.
Oh my goodness.
I bet they
They are
know what
not a
that is.
sponsor. We are not, yeah, they are not sponsoring us. So do not go out and buy them thinking you're supporting Masonic improvement. Unless they do want to throw a little change our way, we will certainly start eating
Mm.
bumblebee tuna on the show.
Dennis.
I will have a can like this and just,
No, that's a grading in other countries.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, with Ace Ventura.
I saw it on a documentary.
Hey,
Hello, Gene. Welcome, brother.
hey, how are you?
Oh, cool. I could do little emojis now. That's nice. Man, so you wanted to talk about dress codes tonight?
I didn't say that.
What up, William Batters in the house?
Hey, wait. I said, there were
Oscar's
some
here
posts
too. Wow.
today that there were
I'm,
some posts today that really kind of just got under my skin. They
do
really
tell.
did. I
Do
mean,
tell, Dennis. Tell me. How did it get
so
under your skin?
so there's posts that are talking about, it's not the internal, it's the internal, not the external. And I'm so sick and tired of people throwing that around.
Mm-hmm.
It that's not even the purpose of that lesson. And if anybody at all studied further than just what's on the altar, they would know that every ancient faith and every ancient doctrine all teaches the path of the internal in order to take it external.
Well, let's look a little bit at the psychology of dressing right. So there was a time when pretty much everyone went to church, right? And you had your Sunday clothes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you got up in the morning, you put on your Sunday clothes, which were nice clothes, and then you went to church. And by the same token, a lot at that around that same era, if you were going to lodge, you put on your nice clothes when you went to lodge. Why? Why? Well,
I'm going to say it
psychologically,
goes back. I'm going to go say it goes back further than that. But go ahead. I'll let you
it
finish.
probably does, but I'm just going something that's kind of relatable because we've all seen
Okay.
Andy Griffith, right? Um, Psychologically, when you change, when you dress specifically for something, your mindset changes, right? You're
Correct.
gearing yourself towards something special, especially when you have something that's reserved. Like
A
these are my
specific
Sunday
reason.
clothes.
Yes.
Yeah, they're for church. Or these are my suits I wear to the lodge, right? So
Right.
whenever I'm putting those on, my mindset changes, right? I'm going someplace special. Psychologically, that's what you're telling yourself. I'm going somewhere that is important, that is special. I need to change my mindset. I need to get into the right uh, way of thinking for what I'm about to doing because it's something that's important and solemn. When I just
Right.
go in, don't get me wrong. Like you see what I'm wearing right now. Most people here probably see my post on Facebook. Most lodges, not all lodges, but most lodges, I wear my polo, right? Because that's just what we do in this part of Texas, right? But this is still my Masonic polo, right? My Masonic shirt. It still puts me in that Masonic mindset. Is it a suit? No, no. Do I wear suits to lodge? Yes, when I go to the right lodges, right? But I'm not going to be the only guy. Some of these lodges stink. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going
I'm
to wear my
not.
good.
I'm not afraid to. I'm not afraid to wear my suit in any lodge, and I
Yeah.
and I will, and I do. I won't go to lodge unless I'm wearing my suit, unless there's a very valid reason that I did not have time to actually suit up.
Well,
And
I'll tell you why I don't always wear a suit. And you or someone else hinted at it earlier on Facebook that it kind of, I think it was Kyle, Kyle Walquest. The reason their suits, one of the reasons for the suits was it puts everybody on the level, right? Because everybody's wearing a suit. And I agree with that. However, not everybody in the rural, most people in the rural lodges don't wear suits. We need to change that, I agree. But I
but
dress as
what
close to the
exactly?
level as I
Why
can.
don't they wear suits? Because of arrogance, pride? I mean, let's
I
hear
think
from
I
the
think country
let's
folk are
hear
very
from the
casual.
listeners because I think it's just as arrogant to not wear a suit because of foolish pride saying that I don't have to. I'm a hard working man. I'm a blue collar worker. I
Yeah.
don't have to wear a suit. I think it's just as arrogant and prideful to do that as opposed to wearing a suit for the wrong reasons.
Let's see. Well, I don't hear you see any comments yet, but David Lawson's here. Gene says it's not
Hey,
the
Dave.
internal, but it's not the internal, but the external. But our external should, at least the majority of the time, reflect our internal. And I agree.
That's exactly right.
Stephen Bailey's here. He says hello. I feel weird
And
going to the lodge building not dressed up, button up shirt at a minimum. Yeah.
well, and that's another thing is that back in the day. Now let's go back to original, back when Freemasonry started, when it kind of took shape. We're not even talking about when the Grand Lodge era started. We're talking about before that. It was a lot of times it was the aristocrats, and it was, of course, it originated from the stonemasons. I don't want to hear about all that history crap that everybody wants to throw out, but speculative Freemasonry came about with people that were not stonemasons that came in and started adding meaning behind the tools of symbolism, and they did this in moral and ethical ways to help the businessmen, the aristocrats of the time, come together and to learn together to be better, so that they could serve the communities that they lived in a better way, a way to uplift the communities to their levels instead of them dropping down to their communities levels.
Mm.
Now, with that being said, when they did this, the reason why it was a straight black suit is because you did have the aristocrats, and some of them were really high up there, and some of them were just business class, right?
Yep.
So that's why they had that level.
We got a good question
Now,
when you have a chance.
okay, now fast forward, they built all these temples, and they were never called lodges in the beginning. They may have been called lodges for the public, but they were considered temples.
Well,
And the
it
reason,
says Masonic
the re,
Temple on the outside of most of those old buildings.
that's right. And the reason why is because it's a place that good men, gentlemen, are supposed to go to improve the two things that they can improve in their life to make them better men: their intellect and their spirit. And with those things combined, it brings consciousness, self awareness of the spirit of God, right? So that's why it's a temple. So if you're going into temple thinking just come as you are, think about the Tibetan monks that have nothing except the robes they wear, and think about those robes that they wear. They are a beautiful golden and crimson color of silk that nobody else can get. Only they can get.
Mm-hmm.
But it's beautiful. They dress up for temple. They dress up for what their job is, what their work is. They wear their best. They have nothing except for that, and it's the very finest in the area.
Yeah.
So I'll get off that, and let's get to the listeners.
A few things I want to address real quick, then we'll get to the question. Josh Finley's here. Hello, Josh. Good to see you.
Hey, man.
Dave Yance is on here, and he says, dress is very important. I think about it when I was first brought in 1989. Now most everyone dresses as in a suit. Nowadays, society has dictated that this is no longer the norm. Dave Yance will be talking at my lodge on August 1st. And so if anyone wants to, is in the area, if you want to get more information, reach out to me afterwards. I'll be sure to send you the information.
I'd like to state real quick, that's a profound thing, Dave. And we love you, Dave. We've had you on the show, and just so people know, if you can make it to that presentation, it'll be a good one.
Yes, it will.
That's a profound statement that we've lowered our standards to society's norms. Our original cause was to take the things that we learn in Freemasonry in the internal out to the world, out to the external, not the world taking its crap values inside our lodges.
That's a good point.
Profound, Dave. Thank you.
And one more quick thing, and then I want to get to this question. David Lawson says, I think some of why suits aren't worn at all times now because dress codes for work has changed also. And he brings up a good point.
Yes.
70s, early 80s, before that, I'm a teacher, right? Teachers wore suits.
Yes.
They wore suits. And now the big thing with education are jeans days. Like that's your reward for doing a good job. You get jeans day. So so definitely I agree. And I know that's not the only profession that has had that change. However,
Yeah,
um,
that's all professions pretty much, unless you're executive level and above. It's polos.
yeah. But I'm going to
That's the
butcher the
norm.
name. Harisha Shooting Sports. They're asking, how about not wearing a suit because you can't afford one? Now, I want to
I
say,
understand that.
I uh, I want to say,
Go ahead. I,
when
I
no
know
no
where you're
no
going, and I believe in it too.
when
But
I was
I'll
much younger in college, I didn't have money, right? I didn't have anything, but I wanted to level up my wardrobe. I went to Goodwill and found some suits that were in my price range. And don't knock it. Like you don't. It's an ego thing. I
nobody
think
knows.
you're swallowing your. It feels like a lot of people think they have to swallow their pride to do this, but you're not buying. You're not buying someone's stinky, patched up, lice ridden jacket. That's probably they probably exist, right? I'm sure they're at Goodwill somewhere, but I found full suits that were quality. A lot of people just either the owner passed away or they got too big for them or too small for them, and so they
Right.
donated them to Goodwill. They're not bad. There's not necessarily something bad with them. It's just for whatever reason the owner no longer can wear them, and so I probably got one or two jackets that I bought. Still, I don't even know where they're at now because I got so many suits. But I added over time, and as my career advanced, and as I was able to, I bought more suits. However, starting out, there's options. And so if anyone says that they, first of all, if a brother says they can't afford a suit, and if I have one of their size, I'll give it to them, right? Because I got suits I can't fit into anymore. But
Tell me.
frankly, honestly, since this summer, I have a lot of suits that don't fit me right now. But but for someone to say they can't afford one, I think that's they're not always looking at their option, or it might be a pride or ego thing for some people. Not everybody. Excuse me a second.
Well, with that being said, now
Oh,
even if you're
hair cheetah. Oh, okay, there we go.
even if you're saving up for, even to that degree, the going to a secondhand store, even if you're saving up for that, during that time that you're saving up for that, we can all go and put on a nice button up shirt. You know, when I was a kid, when I was and I got to tell you, I went to a lot of them, a lot of funerals, because all of my family died by the time I was 13 years old. And when I was a kid, my dress was a nice shirt and a tie, a clip-on tie, but it was a nice shirt and a tie. That was dress up. It was because it was important when you go to funerals to do that. It's important when you go to church to do that. It's important for certain things to dress a certain way. When I got older, I got to a point in my life where I I when I became a man, I decided it's time I have a suit. Who knows? What if somebody else dies that I know? What if I have a wedding to go to? What if I have anything to go to? I don't want to show up with just a button up shirt. And then in like Justin, as time grew on, then I was able to add more. Now I have a tuxedo. And at one time that would have never been I would have never thought that would have been part of my lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But I've grown into that position because I've actually elevated my level of thinking. And in doing that, it's put me in places to where it's necessary to wear a tuxedo. And so, and it's more affordable to just buy one than to rent one anytime you need it, if you think about it. If you get into the position of needing one regularly, it's definitely better to buy one.
Yeah.
But it was all gradual, and it took time, but it was a matter of me being open to that idea, just like Justin. And and yes, it started. I didn't originally, actually, I didn't start out with a suit. I Excuse me. I grew up in Texas. I started out with a cowboy tux. I had a nice sports jacket, really nice sports jacket,
Hmm.
and blue jeans that I pressed like every good cowboy does, and
Did you
and
starch
boots.
them? Did they stand up on their
Hell
own?
yeah. I grew up in the 80s, man. The 80s and 90s, that was a thing, dude. If you didn't have a line in the back, you were low class. You were
If they don't sound like poster board when you wave them in the air, they're not.
right. My wife still gets mad at me because I fold my pants to where there's a crease, even in my blue jeans. And she's one that likes to go with the crease and just fold them over so they're just rounded or flat or whatever. But that's still a thing for me.
Yeah.
But
There.
yeah, I mean, it was a gradual thing, but I had the mindset that I was willing to level up.
Yeah.
Even before I became a Mason, I wanted to level up in my lifestyle. And I got to tell you, I was a blue collar worker all my life.
Mhm. The question was asked. It's a good question. So if Goodwill doesn't carry us your size because you're a larger guy who needs a tailored suit, that's a question. I mean, I'll admit it is more difficult, right? If you're extremely thin or larger, and it's hard, it gets kind of hard to find a suit. However, it's not impossible. And what I would say is, if you can find a suit that's within a few sizes, then you could take it to a tailor and get it let out, still for cheaper than it probably costs to buy a suit. I
Right.
mean,
You could,
you're looking
for an
at.
extra $50, you can have it all
I, I,
altered.
I've been to tailors even cheaper than that. For a full suit, yeah, probably like 50, but just for like a jacket or something like that. And so you have options. Um, it does make it more difficult. I don't,
But it is more difficult. Yes.
yeah, I don't deny that. But you could still get it let out. I mean, there's professionals who can. I don't understand tailoring. I don't know how suits work, but there's more fabric there than you see, I guess, and they can adjust that where it's larger or smaller. So, and most people have to let them out, to be honest. So, very rarely do you have to get them tucked in. So, that's with
Well, and
everybody.
another thing, if you're a super skinny guy, on the flip side of that,
Yeah.
if you're a super skinny guy, man, watch the internet, because they all I see it all the time. They have suits for $100. The sale is $100 suit, and yeah, that's a nice suit, but it's for some guy that's the size of my thigh.
Yeah.
And so, if you're real skinny, you have that option too, because that's the one that goes on sale.
Yeah.
So you can get a nice suit from a brand new one for $100 a lot of times if you're skinny enough.
I would say if you're really skinny, it's probably easier to find a suit you could let in than a suit you could let out. So
Right,
you do have that
right.
benefit.
There's options.
Oscar says that's the point of Freemasonry is to make us better, giving us the reason to wear one or wear it with pride. I don't, I don't, I don't want to get into like this. I don't disagree with you, first of all, Oscar, but you get into almost like that kind of fuels this whole anti-elitist mentality. Also, if you're not careful
Right.
about what you're saying, because if you say, well, it makes us better, that's why we're wearing suits, then that implies that people that aren't wearing suits are lesser, and I don't.
And that's the argument.
That's
And
the
that's the
argument.
argument.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it's like we're all meeting on the level, right? And me personally, I think it's important for a lodge to have a dress code, right? If a Dennis is going to disagree with me on this. If a guy is just coming off work, like literally just coming off work, and he has no choice, I'd rather him be there, right? However, there's also the argument. Well, you could have a suit at lodge, you could have a suit in your car, which I do. Like, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I if I know I want to go to lodge later, I take a suit with me in case I'm not wearing a suit that day. However, some lodges are dirtier than teaching, right? And so I understand that you don't want to get dirty and put on something nice.
I'll also tell you that if you hang your suit up in your car in the summer heat during the day, any wrinkles that it has, they're gone.
Yeah.
You,
Oh yeah.
you got your own dry press right there. You just hang it up in your car during the day, and all the wrinkles are gone. But even if you don't have time to go home and change, right? So my thought is always, if you have time to go home and change into another shirt, you have time to go home and change into a suit.
Yeah.
So that's my thought. However, I understand if somebody just wants to throw on a nicer shirt if they're leaving straight from work and going to lodge. I get it. And
Hmm.
I would never turn down anybody under any circumstances. You can come in off a tractor, and I'm not going to tell you, oh gosh, you just came in off a tractor. I would never do that. That's not what this is about.
No.
This is about the mentality inside of my body is a temple, my mindset is a temple, my spirit is a temple, King Solomon's temple. And the internal is beautiful, and the external is going to match that beauty,
Yep.
just like King Solomon's temple. Look
There's
at the picture.
there's
It was beautiful.
three comments pretty much in a row from different people.
Okay.
Um, and I wanted to talk about this tonight anyway. Um, so it's first one. Let me scroll up, be sure I'm pronouncing correctly because I got to remind myself. I think it's Hera. Let me see here. Hera Cheetah. Yeah, Hera Cheetah. Sporting shooting sports. Appreciate the discussion. Can we talk about your video, how to be a Freemason in 2023 edition when you have a chance?
Awesome.
And then Stephen
Awesome.
Bailey says, I'm going to go off topic here for a second. I got sent a link to one of y'all's videos titled How to Become a Freemason in 2023. My question is, this is the second comment. He said, so do you think if I shared the link to those who ask, it's not a bad thing or something that could be reprimandable? Okay.
No, that's the
So,
whole reason for it.
yeah, so we can absolutely talk about that. I wanted to talk about it. But yeah,
Yes,
you can
let's go
absolutely
for it.
send that. You're not inviting anybody, right? You're informing people. You're sharing information. So absolutely, you can send it to people if you want to. That's fine. Um, and while we're waiting on see, hey Zach Smith, what's up, brother? But while we're waiting to see if there's any more questions about that, I will say. So if you haven't seen it yet, we just released an informative video, how to become a Freemason, a 2023 version or edition. It's we had an old how to become a Freemason video. It was just me talking in front of a dry erase board. It's old, right? So we created a new version.
Pathetic. So we
Feel free if you want to share that, share it. It wasn't created for this intention, but Dennis had a good point. If you have like a large website or a large Facebook page, and if
it
you want
wasn't
to,
originally
it
created.
wasn't originally created for that, but
Now,
since it doesn't have anyone's faces, it's very just information, right? Watch it if you don't know what I'm talking about. It's just information. The voice is AI. It's got to be real, so you don't see anyone's face or anything. If you want to put it on your Facebook page or your website, feel free to pin it. That way, anyone visiting can get the information, find out how to join. We all know there's misconceptions about how to join, so it's just there for information purposes. Let's see.
yeah,
Here,
it
Cheetah.
really answers the questions when people are searching for, how to become a Freemason. They type it in or whatever in their area, and it goes to a lodge, and lodges sometimes have a hard time explaining, how and why and how and the process. And this is just that. It's a very uniform way. Number one, it tells what we're about in a nutshell, and then though it's so much deeper, but it also explains, what to expect when you do decide you want to. This is what you can expect on your way through that journey,
Mhm.
and it really is um, the perfect item, because today in today's world, we don't want to go to a web page and just read and
Yeah.
read and read and read and read and read. I even have to stop myself from doing that kind of garbage when I'm creating websites. So having that video there on your website, on your lodge website, is a
Thanks,
easy
Oscar.
way to an easy way to transition somebody in that is interested and just wants to get the gist of it.
Yeah.
It really is,
So
and it keeps people's attention.
a few more comments. Is the video considered recruiting? Personally, I like it. Just curious, to be honest. I wanted to share it on my personal page. I wanted to find out first. In a day where people are getting bad information online, I think this video, as well as the videos on the Grand Lodge website, may help get the right info out there, especially if people see its information shared by actual Masons they know. I would say most lodge websites already have a whole section dedicated to how to join, right?
Yes.
In Facebook
Yeah,
pages.
that's not recruiting.
Yeah, there's no. I would say it's not recruiting because you're just sending information, right? You're not emailing people,
And
you're
you're
not emailing petitions to people, right?
you're actually
sending
telling
information.
people that they have to ask if they're interested.
Yeah.
That it's not you're not saying, hey, come join us, we'll have dinner. You're saying, if you're interested in this, then you have to ask. You have to initiate every step of the way.
That's a good point. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's no link to any petitions on the website or anything like that. And like then it says, if you want to join, well, first of all, it says go find a lodge and visit it first, and then if you want to join, if you like that lodge, ask. So I would say it's not recruiting. You're not inviting people or anything like that. You're just giving them the information, telling them how to go about it. And it like Hirachita, dang it, like was pointed out. I'm sorry, like was pointed out. There's so much bad information out there. It's important to get the right information out there. Before I became a Mason, I thought you had to have bloodline, right? That's why I asked my dad.
Right.
So it's a common misconception. Stephen Bailey says, with today's youth like myself, I think if they inquire about Freemasonry, I could send them the link to that video and it would be very beneficial. Absolutely. I mean, that is
Exactly.
100% why
That's
we created
exactly
that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that is exactly what we did.
It
and that's why we're telling people they can put it on their sites for free, even though we created it. We want people to put it on their sites for free to help in that situation.
It's a tool. It's another tool in your tool belt. Granted, it wasn't created for that, right? It was just for anyone. When I created the original and this one, it was just because I know people look for it a lot on YouTube and I wanted the right information out there. And then Dennis pointed out, hey, this could go on websites and stuff. I was like, yeah, it could. So that's what we're talking about. Like, if you want to do it,
and then we revamped it, and I helped restructure the way everything was written and what was written. And
yeah. Oscar gifted a membership, and William got it. So congratulations, William.
Thank you, Oscar, and thank you, William, for investing in this.
Dave Yance says, continuing with dress, in a great deal of cases, when he delivers his lecture, he wears jeans, t-shirt, tie, and suit jacket. Yeah, I mean, like Dennis is talking about the
cowboy tux.
Cowboy tux.
Yeah, that's it.
Frankly, like there are lodges and there are Masonic events. Like if I go to AMD, I know I need to wear a suit. Really, I'm supposed to wear a tux, but I know I need to at least wear a suit, right? I don't own a tux.
Right.
I'm not Dennis Yates yet, but I at least wear a suit. However, if you're going to a lodge and you're going to speak and you don't really know, you can't go wrong with the Texas tux. You just can't.
Right. Well, and that's something people have asked us about the summit as well, because we do want it to be a step up. So we do want people to wear suits. However, in Texas, we have the cowboy tux. Mm-hmm. So that is acceptable in our scenario because it is normal attire dress up for Texas, especially South Texas. We're full of a bunch of ranchers down here.
Mm-hmm. Just throw a bolo on it. Can't go wrong.
That's right. I actually have some bolo ties.
I don't own a bolo.
I also have some that are actually I have some that are antique that were just the bolo, and I need to get the new tassels for it that were handed down to me from one of my Blue Lodge mentors. He said, "Man, if anybody needs this, you do." And it's a big old Scottish Rite bolo, and it looks beautiful. And that's I can't wait to get the rest of it.
Oscar Cordova says he sent the video to a buddy that asked him some questions about Freemasonry. Well, I appreciate that, man. I mean, that's what it's for.
There you go.
Yeah. Apparently, his name is Justin H. Justin's a great name, by the way.
I wouldn't
He's
admit it either if
He
I was.
says, great information and great video. Thanks, my guys. First time watching your live. Won't be my last. Thank you, Lawson, for getting us here. Yes, thank you, Lawson. And definitely appreciate the
Oh,
questions.
very cool. Yeah. That's what lives are all about, brothers. So and friends, it's all about asking questions, and let's just let it go where it goes.
Zach Smith says, I thought everyone in Texas owned bolos. I'm not a very good Texan, Zach. I'm sorry. I don't know. Fun fact: most Texas babies are actually born with bolos. It just comes. It just comes with the. It comes with the package. They used to be
Yes.
born with boots also, but that was too hard to pass, so they just did away with that and went bolos. Much easier on the mom. David Lawson
Yes.
says he sat in a lodge recently for a Master Mason's degree, and the conferring master wore a T-shirt and shorts. He couldn't believe it. So this is really where I have.
I couldn't do it. I'd stand up and walk out.
Yeah, this is really where
And
I
I
have.
and I would tell them it's not okay. Stand up and walk out.
Because here's the thing. Hold on, I got.
Man, you just fired me up. I actually started getting warm because that made me so angry that I just heard that. That's not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. The master's degree is the most important event in that brother's life at the time. And to make it so insignificant with your beach clothes is amazingly pathetic and disrespectful to not only him but our fraternity as well. And that is I'm sorry. I'm not going to hold back on that. I don't feel bad about that, and I hope that everybody's listening. And if you don't like it, too bad.
Sorry about that.
No
Well, it's
problem. I was just
quiet.
making a lot of enemies.
Oh, okay. No, here's the thing. Here's my thing. Each degree is a rite of passage, and that implies that something important is going on in that person's life, right? That the guy that goes into that lodge is not the same guy that walks out.
Right.
And if I mean you wouldn't or you shouldn't wear t-shirt and shorts to a wedding, right? It's a sacred and solemn event. Exactly, Dave. It's a sacred and solemn event.
Yeah. You
And
think about what that represents, and think about if you would dress that way
and when the
going to
candidate
that.
when the candidate gets to the
Mm,
lodge, regardless of what he's wearing, if he looks around and sees everybody in t-shirts and shorts and flip-flops or whatever, then in his mind, even if he doesn't know he's thinking it, he's thinking, well, this is not really that important. It's not that big of a deal. This is casual. Casual is mundane, right? When you dress mundane, people have a mundane mindset. However, if a guy walks into a lodge, doesn't know what to expect, and everybody's wearing suits or tuxedos, and he goes in there and looks around, it's a good meal, not chili dogs or something like that. He goes there to the lodge, everyone's wearing tuxedos, there's a great meal, right? And then his mindset's different because hey, these guys are dressed as though they're about to do something important, right?
yes.
They're dressed for something important.
It's important to them,
They're dressed for a
so it should be
job.
important to me.
They're dressed for a job, and it's not a mundane job, right? It's all about the mindset.
Yes.
Yeah, weddings,
Yes.
baptisms, graduations.
If I had walked into lodge like that and saw that in McKinney when I had walked in, I would have walked out.
What's that? What's
I
that?
wouldn't have joined
What's that?
because
What's
let
that?
me
Sorry, go ahead.
because when I joined, I knew who my grandfather was. And I knew who all my other well, I didn't know who my great great grandfather was who started the lodge in Denton, but he wore suits, by the way. But I knew who my grandfather was. And he was not a man that sat around in t-shirts and flip-flops. He was not that man, and he carried himself as such. And the community always respected him as a leader in the community because he carried himself well at all times. I also knew that the founding fathers of our of our nation were Freemasons. I also knew that the founding fathers of Texas were Freemasons. These were leaders. These were not your guys that were sitting around, just relaxing in the sun every day, hoping for something to come along, hoping for some sun to come along. They were going and they were making their sun. They were making it happen for the rest of the world, not for just themselves, for the rest of the world, for the betterment of society.
Mm-hmm.
If I had walked in and saw a bunch of people wearing t-shirts with that mindset, thinking that's what I was joining, was that lineage, that legacy of men, and I walked in and saw people with that mentality, I would have walked right back at them, and I would have never came back.
So I'm gonna say something that I think is pretty dramatic, but I I believe it, and so you don't have to agree with me. Hello, Doug. Hola, gentlemen. However, we know historically there was a rift in Freemasonry, right? You had the ancients and the moderns, right? I think we're approaching a kind of another. Granted, we already have divisions in Texas Freemasonry. I won't go into that. We're approaching kind of a rift, and that is
It's a renaissance.
it's the casuals versus the mundanes. Yeah, and there's a renaissance that's really starting to separate that because the the stuff that Dennis and I talk about on Masonic improvement, frankly, is not mundane Freemasonry. It's something marvelous. We're talking about lodges reaching their full potential. You cannot reach your full potential by being casual. You have to be intentional. You can't casually be successful. And
You have to
you
live
have
with purpose.
the mundane lodges are going to merge, or they will lose their charters. And 20 years from now, 30 years from now, the lodges that survive, they're going to be marvelous because they're the ones that have implemented the practices, not the practices we're talking about, the practices that all of our guests have talked about. Because it's not just me and Dennis preaching from a pulpit; it's the leaders in Texas Freemasonry, and not just Texas Freemasonry, but across the country that we have reached out to that have all been saying the same story, right? And so if you want to see your lodge be successful, I'm not saying you all have to start showing up in ties tomorrow, but you have to start moving in that direction. You have
It
to start.
starts. It starts here.
It starts. It starts. Yeah, and it's not a popular idea, but if I'm being frank with you, 30 years from now, the lodges that are still around, they're going to be in suits.
Yes. Well, that's what a lot of the young men are looking for that are coming in because and here's and I've said it 100 times. Today's young man, they're growing up on the computer. They're not going to church as much. They're not doing the social activities that require them to dress nice, be nice, act nice. They're not doing those things. They don't have the spiritual leadership in their homes so much. They don't feel a purpose of community because nobody knows their neighbors. They don't have any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking for that interpersonal relationship when they come to our lodge. And they're looking for that step above. They're looking to learn how to be that man who carries himself well in his several stations. They're needing those rites of passage because they're missing out on all that because their rites of passage right now are on a video game. Whereas they're looking for something that is internal
Excuse me a moment. Keep talking.
that only we can provide. And if we fail to deliver what these young men are looking for, then we are actually killing our future altogether. Now, I'm going to say this. Last night there was a speech given, and it was talking about how this particular lodge um, years ago decided they were going to be an education, that they were going to meet proper, they were going to dress right, act right, um, in a lot of the traditional ways. They're not a traditional lodge, but in a lot of the traditional ways. And they would always have education and good fellowship after the lodge meeting. This lodge has been around for many, many years doing the same thing. And the leader of the lodge said, and we're seeing now, which is true because the people that we're talking about, Justin was mentioning earlier, these people around the nation are expressing the exact same thing. And this is the Renaissance. What we're seeing now is lodges turning to this mentality. And the reason that it's so important right now is because that's the young man that's coming in. He's looking for that experience. Those lodges are the ones that are going to be available and around in the future. Everybody else is going to fall to the side. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. How long until their money runs out.
Yeah.
So, and that's going to happen because these young men that are looking for this experience, this internal investiture of their for their life, they're not going to get it in this place, so they're going to go over to this lodge that is giving.
Yeah.
So if we don't step up as Masons in our lodges and show that we can be a better version of ourselves, then we're going to miss out on those brothers that are seeking the knowledge that we have.
And to be fair, I'm a member of a lodge that's going to run out of money because they're determined to do anything they can but raise dues, right? And so it's common. It's common enough that it's even affecting one of us, but it's you can't be a hero in your hometown, if that makes sense.
Right.
It's hard to be the voice of reason when everybody knows you sometimes. Dave Yant says, "What you speak about is what needs to be heard by all. I'm thankful that you are on here and not afraid to ruffle some feathers." Yeah, we're not
Thank you,
strangers to ruffling feathers. So Oscar says they want more. Yeah. Austin White's here. Hello, Austin. Charles Paul says people avert their eyes if they see their neighbor these days, even just taking out the trash. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Justin H. I agree 200% with what you're saying. My issue is at what point do we draw the line between encouraging brethren if they're able to wear suits in lodge and forcing them to? The lodge I'm in right
that's
now
the
is
thing.
out of harmony. I'm in some lodges out of harmony, unfortunately.
That's the thing is that I don't none of my lodges force anybody to wear suits. When I went in as master and it began in my year, I asked every officer to wear a suit. And I didn't force anybody, but I asked every officer, I said, look, you volunteered for this position. This is a position of leadership. We're going to stand out as leaders of the lodge. They started wearing suits.
Yeah.
Still today, the officers wear suits. Not everybody in my lodge wears a suit, and that's okay. And we're not going to turn them away. We all love each other. We really do. We all love each other. But the precedent is there, and they know that when they are ready to level up, it's going to be required.
Yeah.
And it all starts with just a shift in mentality of the culture. It's not a forcing. It's just saying, look, I want to look better. I want to feel better. And I got to tell you, and that's why I'll never go anywhere without being in a suit, because my own lodge, a little country town of 2,000 people, we have one of the strongest lodges in South Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And half of them don't wear suits, but all your leaders do.
So,
and they believe in it.
A few things I want to piggyback off what you're saying is that if you join a lodge, right, and you're not wearing a suit, and you go to the meeting, and everybody else is wearing a suit, chances are probably no one's going to say anything to you about it, right? To be honest, like most lodges,
I would never say anything.
Yeah, most people aren't going to call you out, but you're going to notice. You're going to notice. It kind of takes care of itself, I think, because you kind of feel a little bit of pressure, even if nobody says anything. Like I could go to Hillcrest in a polo, and they'll probably let me in, right? But I'm going to look around, and I'm going to see everyone else is wearing suits, and I'm going to feel very self-conscious, right? It's not so much peer pressure as being the sum of the people you surround yourself with, right? If you're surrounding yourself all times with people that are wearing suits, the more often you're surrounding yourself with those people, the more often you are probably going to have a suit, right?
You'll set a goal to get a suit
Yeah,
just because. I mean, it's just we just do that.
yeah.
What's funny is that our our senior deacon, I love him, Steban. Steban Ramos. He I know I'm not. I shouldn't be speaking Spanish.
I'm
I don't speak.
embarrassed. I'm embarrassed.
You should be. I'm embarrassed of myself. So, but Stepan, I love him. In at installation, he wore a suit, and in fact, he always wears a suit. He has since the day he started. It never stopped. But he wore a suit, and he gets ready for installation. I look down, and he's wearing American flag high tops. He's wearing what are those ones, those old school ones that oh man. And I'm
Converse.
old school. I should know. Yeah.
Converse.
He's wearing American flag Converse because it's right before 4th of July.
Hmm.
But I love it. He respects it but still has his own personality, and that's cool. I love it. There's I know one brother in Waco who his suits are loud and proud. They are very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I love
See,
them.
yeah,
You know who I'm
I
talking about.
do. I do.
I love his suits. I love the way he dresses. I love the way he comes to lodge, and he's got the most wonderful personality. But it's have fun with it. If your personality puts you over the edge and you're a little edgy, man, have fun with it.
Yeah. Man, there's so much chat going on today. Uh,
Nice.
Dave Gaunt says most young men are attracted to our fraternity today. Most men attracted to our young men attracted to our fraternity today are looking for a challenge in real experiences. Our catechisms could help fulfill a
Yes.
portion of that desire if presented and done correctly. I think the entire Masonic experience fulfills that desire.
Oh,
Because as
absolutely.
Dennis point, and I've said so many times, like the men evolved and developed in a certain type of environment that required them to constantly be striving. Right? They had to overcome challenges and they had to build real relationships with people. Right? And today that's the exact opposite. I mean, today everything is cheaply made and doesn't necessarily cost very much. Most friendships are not very tangible. Everything's kind of pretty much handed to us, and so
Yeah.
freemasons
Everybody gets a participation award.
and most rites of passage have all but been eliminated. And with this, everybody gets a medal mentality, right? So subconsciously, I think that's why young men are looking for us. And when we're not offering what they're looking for, when we're offering something like, oh, this whole this what's it called? It's not everybody gets a medal. It's participation trophies. The participation trophy mentality is even present in our lodges. I mean, look at the petitioning
Right.
program. Most people, if you show up, you get a petition. And if you get a petition, you get in, right? That's
Which,
participation
which,
trophy
by the way,
mentality.
speaking of, if you haven't looked at the petition process that's in Grand Lodge in Grandview, if you're a member in Texas, go to Grandview and look in the Master Mason section, and it has the petition process in there. It was mailed out to all the secretaries, but every Master Mason ought to know that process. And I think lodges ought to make that a rule that they need to learn that, and they should have a dedicated day, just like the Brisker workshop, just to learning that process and making sure the lodge is on the right page to shift that culture, because that's even more important.
There's a
But anyways,
there's a
I'll get off of that and let you get back to your thought. I apologize,
no
but
no.
that
It's fine.
was
There's a brother that
that's an important thing.
visited a local lodge not too long ago, and he was actually from England, and was in the area, and he visited the lodge, and he showed up in the tux and gloves, and he looked around. Everyone's like in polos. He's like, man, I guess I'm too dressed up. He actually reached out to his Grand Lodge, and he was told because he asked for permission to wear something different, and he was told absolutely not, because you represent the Grand Lodge of England and you will dress like an English
Nice.
Mason regardless of where you are. And I mean, full on tux, white gloves, everything.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that
I don't
mentality.
agree with a lot of things the Grand Lodge of England does, especially recently, but I appreciate that. Um,
Yes.
yeah, the only time The only time they dress down is when it's due to hot weather, and frankly, that's why I do the polo a lot right now. Um, I mean, yes, I could put a suit. I mean, I could put a jacket in the back of my truck and drive. So that's on me. That's me making excuses
That
for
is
myself, I
on you,
guess.
Slacker.
I know, I know. Also, White says an officer of the lodge should show respect for their place and station and for the lodge. I agree. What else we got? We got so
Well,
many
and that's
comments,
another
Dennis.
thing. Speaking of the officer of the lodge, we're talking about the process of the ritual of getting dressed in a different way shows the importance of the position.
Hmm.
That's why we have the collars and the different aprons for the officers of the lodge. So you are preparing yourself as you're putting that on. You should be preparing yourself for your duties as that officer and not just throwing it on because you get to, strut around your lodge acting like a big shot.
Yeah.
There's certain responsibilities that come with that. And when you're putting that on, that's what you're doing is preparing yourself. That's also the whole reason for the ritual of opening and closing the lodge the way it is. It, it could be just like the Rotary or Lions Club or whatever, and just open it up and be done with it. But no, we have a specific ritual, and that's to prepare our minds and hearts for the work that we're getting ready to perform.
Hmm.
It all falls together in line.
Um, Doug, sorry, Doug. I'm not going to try your last name. I don't want to disrespect you and butcher it. However, it says they had a brother from the Philippines show up in a lodge to their stadium meeting. This is actually what made me think of the other story. He was dressed in a suit, and no one else was. He was embarrassed. The poster here. He was ashamed of himself. He maintained a standard where we had not continued to. Yeah. Alfredo, okay. This is the second time someone pointed this out. Let me just get through these comments, and I want to revisit this, if that's okay, Dennis.
Okay. Okay.
Um, Alfredo M. The officers of the lodge I'm petitioning to in Fort Worth wear suits. Everyone else wears business casuals and is struggling for candidates, and I think it's due to an age gap. Actually, two things I want to address on that. Dave Lawson, Rick Moore pointed out it's a long time ago that the first rite of passage is when a lodge decides it's time to give the potential members a petition to join. And so I understand what you're saying. So like the first rite of passage really at Fort Worth Masonic Lodge is
Is
that
deciding
petitioning process. It's
because it's a
deciding if they
long
get a petition.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it. It's
Yeah.
a long process. Same way with Hillcrest. It's a process.
Yeah. Austin
Yes.
White says he always wears a suit when he visits the lodge, especially first time. He sleeps in a suit and showers in a suit. No, you did say that.
His birthday suit.
You're showing respect to that lodge, and as ambassador, you're an ambassador for yours. There was actually a TV show. I can't remember. Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't remember his name, but he slept in a suit. It was like a silk suit, like a pajama suit. But anyway, let's see. Oscar's got to go. Good night, Oscar.
Take care, Oscar.
Now, I want to revisit this because, first of all, there's two things. I don't think a candidate should know that a lodge is struggling for candidates, and it's not on you. That's on the lodge for being transparent about that. However, there was another comment earlier, and someone was saying that they're having a hard time getting candidates. And you remember, Freemasonry. Yes, we have to get new people, right? We have to get new people because people are passing away. I understand that. We have to be able to replenish. Excuse me a second. However, that shouldn't be. If we're doing our job correctly, the candidates will come, right? And it just may be a few a year, right? Or maybe a lot a year. But I think we need to focus as a fraternity less on candidates and more on providing value. Because if we're providing value for our members, then the candidates will come. And
There's a. Go ahead.
and
I'm
providing
sorry.
value isn't necessarily just education. I think providing value is what we've been talking about this evening, because setting a dress code, setting standards, and raising standards is not easy, right? Self improvement is not easy, and often I just think back to when I was in the Air Force and we do like a PT, right? Um, there was a few times, like I'm thinking specifically, there was a few times it was like a bicycle class. It was Air Force guys. I'm sorry, it was like a bicycle class, And the person running the class is like, okay, turn the dial up, and everyone's like, oh, groaning, right? But that person is elevating us, they're improving us, right? But everyone's groaning about it. That's the same thing. Self improvement is not easy, but the lodge, we have to hold each other accountable. Say, hey, you joined us because you wanted to improve yourself. We have to raise
Right.
that bar. And yeah, some people groan. Don't, like those guys on the bike. Heck, I was the one. I turned it down instead of turning it up. But
I believe
I
it.
don't like biking. But my point is, like, if we're improving ourselves, the lodge has to be that coach saying we got to turn that dial up, we got to raise this bar. And some people will,
Right.
right, some people will just say screw this, I'm leaving class, right, and they'll just go. That's fine, that's fine. You can't, I mean, every personal development ultimately is a personal journey. That's why it's called personal development, right? And if someone says, like, deuces, I'm done with this, and they leave, that's unfortunate. Like, we should still reach out to them. I'm not saying like peace or anything, but we have to understand, like, we can't be afraid to improve our lodges and raise that bar because we're afraid that some people might leave.
I was going to say, if somebody leaves because of something we're trying to do to improve, then I say good riddance. Goodbye. You weren't meant to be, in this lodge, or you wouldn't do that. We in fact instituted this year, which, man, I am super stoked. I was even kind of concerned mentioning it during my year, and I was a pretty change oriented person in my year. But this year we've introduced the committee for the Vanguard Award. And I'm chairman of that committee, and I'm honored to be as past master. I'm honored that they thought of me as a person that will make sure that Freemasonry happens in the lodge. I'm honored that they feel that way. A lot of people grumble saying, "Oh, you're just trying to do this, it's trying to be an elitist or whatever." But really, it's just trying to do Freemasonry. We're just trying to level up.
Uh,
And so our lodge has been one of the strongest lodges in South Texas for several years now. And they've decided, okay, well, we're just going to take it up one more notch.
yeah.
Let's just really take it up there and put the level high so that, it's not so easy for others to touch us. Now go ahead.
Oh no, I was just I'm going to channel my inner Caesar Rubio. By the way, if you haven't listened to Masonic Muscle, it's an excellent podcast. But I'm going to channel
Yes,
my
yes.
inner Caesar Rubio and use an example. If I joined a gym and it cost me $50 a year, right, to join that gym, and and they're like, hey, we're gonna improve your physical fitness, right? And I go there and everyone just kind of sits around and doesn't do anything, right? And in most chances, I'll probably leave. I'll probably just stop going, right?
Right.
Um, but if but by the
I'm
same
not a
token,
planet. I'm not a Planet Fitness kind of guy.
yeah. But by that
I'm
same,
more of a Gold's Gym kind of
well,
guy.
hold on. And then if you get a letter in the mail saying, "Hey, we're going to raise what we charge you to $100 a year," be like, "Well, I'm not going, and I'm not getting anything out of it. What's the point? I've just quit, right? There's no value in that." However, if I'm going to a gym and they're actually working out, like I'm actually improving every time I go, and they're like, "Hey, we need to replace some of the weights, maybe get some better AC in here, change the mats out, yada
Some
yada
free
yada."
weights.
Yeah, yeah. Like this is how we're going to improve the place, but it's going to cost more, but you're going to get more value out of it. Then yeah, I mean, because I'm probably going, right, because that's what I joined for, so I'm probably still going, and there's a tangible benefit to the gym, but to myself as well. And I'm not sure where we got off on dues. That's just my mentality, my ADD kicking in, I guess. But same thing like dress code. You can say, hey, no more of those booty pants the girls wear. It's too distracting, right? Uh, okay, fine, great, or whatever. Like you have to wipe your sweat off the bench or something. I don't know. Like say, hey, you got to start doing this. You have to keep doing this to level up. Then yeah, that's fine. And some people will groan and complain, right? But ultimately, it benefits everybody.
I'd
Dave,
like to say this. I'd like to say this real quick. Um, for the purpose of that, the member who talked about his lodge or a lodge in Fort Worth that is dying,
Mm-hmm.
that has very few members. There's a lodge that I visited that only has 20 members. Someone has to die or leave for someone else to be invited in to become a member of this lodge.
Mm.
And that lodge is very stable. And they could afford to have dinner for everybody paid for at one of the finest restaurants in San Antonio for their installation. And they ended up giving gifts to all the ladies during that installation and gave gifts to all the men, brand new white gloves to
I
all
like
the
that.
men at installation. And they could afford all this through the monies that they received from their 20 members. So they're able to afford their Freemasonry all year long, give to charity, and pay for an installation like that at one of the finest restaurants in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
There is no reason that 20 members cannot have a solid, badass lodge.
Yeah.
20 focused members who find value and create value in their lodge is much better than 100 mediocre blah blah members that are going to leave it to the top 3 to make all the decisions in the lodge.
I love that. I love that. That's great. Dave Yacht says, no petitioner is so important and no increase in numbers is so urgent that we cannot take time to thoroughly investigate all who knock upon our doors.
I confirm.
Yep. Justin H. Agreed. Too many people's egos seem to get hurt and they threaten to leave when changes are made. The killer phase is the way we've always done things. Evolution is key to survival. Yeah, we have to change. We have to adapt. And I think honestly for several decades, lodges have been kind of in cruise control. They've been on autopilot. And a lot of brothers are brought in where lodges are on autopilot and just kind of coasting. They don't realize that they're coasting downhill because that's just the direction it's always been for them. But now we have brothers that are
and they use the excuse of oh, since the 1950s we've had the decline and blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. That's just an excuse at this point. Now we know what the issue has been. Why is it still the issue?
Yeah. Charles Paul says our people are getting so old here. We bring the lodge to members who cannot travel due to reasons. Yeah. Well, I mean, I commend the effort.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
I mean, we get a lot of 50-year pins that people go into their house. Just
in Goliad, we when people get too old to drive to the lodge, we'll pick them up and take them. If there's somebody that's close by, that they're going to stop and pick them up on the way and bring them to lodge. Yeah. Because we don't want those brothers to miss out. They supported our lodge all that time until the point that we were able to take over. So the least we can do is bring them along and let them see a thriving lodge.
When I was driving around Oklahoma, visiting the lodges there, I noticed a lot of lodges had like vans parked there, like permanent, like lodge vans. And I was like, what are those for? It's like, obviously that's got to be to go pick up people, right? Like if they can't drive, they have a service where they'll go and pick people up. I mean, that's the only thing it could be.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome.
Let's see, David Lawson. We also have to look at what's on the other side of the West Gate and make the value worth it. The gate has two sides. I agree wholeheartedly. The thing about value, like I talk a lot about value, but and Dennis made a great point with his lodge example. The tail can't wag the dog, right? People join because they perceive value, and people pay higher dues because they're getting value. However, it's hard to provide value without funds, right? Brothers have got to see, they have to be able to perceive what value they will get, not the value they have. You have to sell them on that. That's I think so many times we go into a lodge and say, hey, we just got to raise dues. They're too low. It's got to be intentional. It takes research because you got to say, this is what we offer and this is what we can't offer. In many cases, It's just, we don't have to do fundraisers all the time. But, like my lodge that's, and I'm going to point it out next meeting. because either the worshipful master or senior warden are going to be the master when the lodge closes, and that's what they're going to be remembered for, and that's because they don't want to raise dues. So, totally lost my train of thought where I was going with that though. But
What's their legacy going to be?
that's their legacy. That's going to be the legacy because instead of raising dues, they want to send letters to the endowed members, asking them for money, and asking for donations and stuff. It's like no, or raise the degree fees, which need to go up, but that's not your solution. But so many lodges.
Yeah, that's not going to pay for your building.
No.
We have a good idea on degree fees ourselves, or at least I do.
Yeah.
And
if that's the case,
and it's awesome, but it's not going to support the whole lodge.
If that's the case, a lodge will go from almost one lodge in every city to maybe 10 lodges a state. I don't know that it'll be that bad, but I think probably like one lodge per district. Like we have districts here in Texas. I think one or two lodges per district depends on the population, right? Like we're even having the community in my district in Hill County. And I've had this conversation with other healthy lodges in the county. There's one other lodge that's healthy, and it's like we should just have one central lodge building, right? And not everybody merge, but everybody just move their charters to it, and just all meet there centrally. And I think that's the solution. Oh, Dave's got to head out. Thanks for coming in, Dave, and I'll see you August 1st.
Take care, Dave.
At Grandview 266. Looking forward to it. But yeah, I think they'll either have to merge or they'll have to move their charters. But one way or the other, they're all going to be at one place.
If we wanted to have a test, this is only a test. If we wanted to have a good test, tell everybody that has a plural membership to only visit the lodge that they want to put their membership in, and then see which lodges survive through the year. Mm-hmm. Because they can't contribute to that other lodge anymore. They have to cut funds. If they have an endowment, that's fine, but they can't contribute any other funds to that other lodge, and only contribute their funds to this one lodge that they choose to support, and see which lodges just go choom.
Yeah.
And then you'll know where the strong lodges are, and who should actually stick around. I mean, that would be an easy way to do it without changing any laws, without forcing anybody to merge or anything like that. Just tell everybody, look, no more plurals, just for the year. Let's see what happens, and you'll see where the loyalties really lie, and you'll see which lodges they find most value in by doing that as well. They're going to go where the value is.
Yeah, and the plural membership, like I'm a plural member at several lodges, right? But the plural membership was beneficial to the Grand Lodge, right? Because now they're getting, instead of per capita once off everybody, they're getting per capita 2, 3, sometimes 10 times off people. So it's been beneficial for the Grand Lodge. However, in the long term, it's been very negative for Texas Freemasonry because there's so many lodges that are being propped up artificially by people that are members of every lodge in their district. Right? There are lodges that should have gone away a long time ago. And the answer isn't plural memberships from the Grand Lodge perspective. The answer isn't plural memberships. It's higher per capita, which we all know what the Grand West says about that if you try to raise it $1. So I couldn't imagine putting it where it needs to be to support the Grand Lodge. But just like your lodge, if you're proud of your lodge, you need to pay the dues to keep it open. If you're proud of your Grand Lodge, you need to pay the per capita to keep it open. And
I think really if we did have less lodges, they would have more money to be able to invest in higher per capita.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. That extra, yeah. I mean, most lodges say the average is like $100. So if you're a member of 4 lodges, paying $400 a year, as opposed to being a member of one lodge and paying $27.50. Granted, that $100 in my opinion is too low. I'm just saying that's probably the average, right? So yeah, absolutely, you could afford higher per capita. You could pay $400 to one lodge a year and have a really healthy banging lodge, which is only $33 a month, by the way. I mean, you don't have to write a $400 check once a year. You could set up Square or something at your lodge and automatically send $33 a month and you're covered.
Right.
And I know that because we did the math at my lodge.
Yeah. Too bad that didn't work out.
Well, it's all right.
It did, but then was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
overturned.
It's all right.
You
It's all good.
know, I think the best thing that any past master can do, if their lodge is doing well, the best thing any past master can do is to be the cheerleader of the next man in line, and help them and support them to increase the benefits of the lodge, and not, not downplay what their ideas are to do more. you know and if you've got a healthy lodge, then what master would come in thinking, oh, I'm going to change this and this? Of
Mhm.
course you want to keep those things going that are keeping the lodge healthy. So the best thing we can do as past masters is to support the master to do something positive, to put on top of, to level up your lodge, to take it to the next level. And a
So,
lot of times we don't do that in our lodges. Now I know in Justin's case, it was exactly the opposite of what I just said, and it's really sad and pathetic that has
well,
happened.
like I said,
But
it's gonna they're gonna get what they voted for,
yeah,
and that's fine.
it's going to
That's
happen.
fine.
They're,
Sometimes it's good to be able to invest yourself in a lodge, right? But it's also important to understand when it's time to just step back, right?
yep,
Um, so before I read this comment, I want to point something out, Dennis, and it sounds obvious, but we never actually said this. What we're discussing on our lives, on our show, is Masonic counterculture, right? It's not the norm. It's the exception in
right,
most lodges. And then I see
right.
a comment from Mott's. Love you, Mott's. It says it's interesting to listen to you and read the comments about the importance of a well-kept building on on what kind of food you have and how you dress. Right? So the things we're talking about, not just me and Dennis, but everybody in chat, we're talking about things that go against the grain. And isn't that
Right.
sad that the things that we talk about that are against the grain are how important it is to have a nice building, dress respectably, and have a good meal?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All we want to do is have a better lodge for the brothers that are coming in behind us. That's all we're trying to do. And this isn't about making everybody feel bad about where they are or who they are, but it is about challenging people to challenge themselves in who they are and think they are.
Yeah. So
You know,
John,
I
go ahead.
my favorite my favorite thought is challenge me. Prove to me that your way is better than mine, and debate me. It's that thing we call rhetoric
Mhm.
in Freemasonry. Debate and discuss with me why your way is better than mine. I just might change my ways because I want to do what's best for our lodge so that it will bring the best experience for the next Mason.
See, I'm not even debate me. I'm like show me, and that's why I've stepped back because
Oh, not me.
I
I
given the alternate. Well, we're different people. We have different approaches, but I
Oh,
given the
yeah.
alternate mindset the opportunity to prove me wrong. Just prove me wrong. And it's an expensive lesson because it could cost an entire lodge. But I'm not going to keep fighting uphill battle, right? And
Well, yeah,
I've
I'll
this
walk away from the lodge if,
yeah.
if they're not. Yeah.
So John T. Thackeray, he shows up pretty often. He says, "How much does illumination really cost when it's free? Since it's free." So here's the thing, John T. It is. It is. There's nothing, and Dennis will probably disagree, but there's really nothing in Freemasonry that you cannot, on paper, learn from a book, right? However, the cost of the cost of having the ability to surround yourself with like-minded people who will elevate you and hold you accountable and challenge you to
Priceless.
improve, that's priceless. You can't
Yeah.
you can't find that in a book, right?
Right.
Like you can get Albert Mackey or uh, Albert Pike or any of the other great
Manly
authors,
P.
Manly
Hall.
P. Hall. You can read their books and learn a lot about Freemasonry, right, on paper. But to actually have a place where you can surround yourself with other good men who are also trying to improve themselves, you can't get that from a book.
There's
And
a there Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just that's not free. There's no way it can be because you have to have a place to meet and it has to be a good place.
There has, from time immemorial, been an apprentice master relationship in everything, whether it be business, whether it be church, whether it be philosophy. There's the master who knows what they're doing, and then there's the apprentice. And for the apprentice to really shape into a master, it requires that master to be there to help guide and shape him and mold him into that place of understanding. Just reading the words in the Bible, I'm going to tell you right now, you do not understand the Bible. You have to read the words of every religion in history in order to understand the Bible. To truly understand its purpose and function in this world, you have to dive deep into every religion in history to understand that Bible.
Well, not even just that, but you have to understand if you really want to dive deep, you got to understand the historical context and the cultural context that might not necessarily be in the Bible.
Right. But you wouldn't get there if you didn't have somebody like I just did tell you that you have to know all this stuff to be able to get there. Otherwise, if the only thing you ever study in your lifetime is that one Bible, mm-hmm. all you know is the surface. All you've done is scratch the surface of what God is and what faith is. And that's the reality.
And to be clear, and I'm not trying to change the subject too much, but to be clear, like if you're like I was raised Baptist, right? And they always teach John 3:16. Like that's the most important thing. And if you believe that's the most important thing, and that's your key to salvation, that's fine. That's not really what we're saying. We're not talking about, we're not bashing anyone who believes that. We're just saying like if you really want like everything historical, if you really want to understand the context, you got to look at it from multiple sources. You got to understand the historical and the cultural and everything like that. We did get 2 new members just now. Doug Marquardt.
Hey.
Dave sent me the correct pronunciation. So Doug Marquardt has become a supporter, and Bearded Bacon has become a booster. Thank you both of you. Definitely appreciate your support.
Thank you. Are these brothers or are they friends?
They're brothers. Doug Marquardt is actually a member. He's a worshipful master right now. And Bearded Bacon, I'm sorry, I don't know what lodge you're a member of, but I know Bearded Bacon from somewhere.
Yeah,
I just added on my Instagram earlier today, so I know he's a Mason. I don't know that I remember what lodge he's at. I think he told us before though, so I apologize.
But the reality is, and this is where I love Freemasonry, and going back to what we were talking about, this is why I love Freemasonry. Like tomorrow night, we have our Zoom meeting with the Scottish Rite we're reading Manly P. Hall's. Oh my gosh, I just had a brain fart.
Manly P. Hall. You've been reading. Oh wow.
You know which one. You know which one it is. Yeah, you know which one it is because we talked about it a lot. Anyways, but tomorrow night we're going to have a study on Zoom discussing a chapter of this book, and you've got 30 members that have studied this. And they all have different thoughts in their heads on what it means to them. And all those thoughts are based on their life experiences and what they understand things to mean through their life experiences, which might be just a little bit different than somebody else's. So when you get 30 people that are talking about this one topic, you may have 10 or 15 different ideas on what this certain section actually means. And then once you all discuss it together, you actually come through with a meaning that really sounds plausible and is more meaningful to everybody.
That's what you're talking about.
Yes, secret teachings of all ages. I apologize for butchering that.
If
Chris Williams heard me, I would be in shit right now. I'm telling you.
We got some good comments. Doug Marquardt says, this is a great podcast. I'm glad Brother Lawson promoted it to him. And yeah, absolutely, man. Glad to have you.
Thank you for
coming.
He
also says, the ideas y'all talk about here make me better because it's so different than where he's at. And that's the goal. Charles Paul says, there is one education, a lodge in Saskatchewan that takes about 15 minutes, a meeting dedicated to education. Yeah. And I'll say this:
Nice.
if you want to have education in your stated meeting, do it first. May have your education first. And the reason I say that is because it's so easy to get caught up in your business that you've been in there an hour and a half and no one wants to sit through an education session, right? It's about
Well, I tell
priorities.
all, yeah, I travel all over the state and the nation giving presentations. And I tell everybody, I actually do it opposite. I tell everybody I'd like to be the last thing that's on people's minds before we go. That way, if we want to discuss it afterwards, we can immediately start discussing and enjoy that conversation. But I also tell them, make sure and have your meeting ready, have your agenda ready and in line and get it done quick. You want to get that meeting done within about 30 minutes because the education portion is going to be thought provoking and that's what you want people to walk away with, not, fighting over the fundraiser. So,
And when you got people used to just being able to stand up and BS back and forth for 5-10 minutes, having an agenda and holding them to it, it's kind of like, it goes back to raising that bar. There's a little bit of resistance at first, but it makes it so much
yes.
smoother.
And any new masters that are out there, I have a presentation for masters in the agenda that I will email you if you just reach out to me and let me know. I've done that for several masters in Texas already, and they loved it, and they're implementing it, and it's helping them have a smoother experience in their lodge. So just throwing that out there. In fact, we ought to make that one of the videos. One of the new videos.
Absolutely, we should. Doug Marquardt says $1.99 a month. I can't talk. $1.99 a month is a no-brainer for this kind of thought process and molding. And Bearded Bacon says, exactly, I didn't mind the $5. I spent $5 on things I have nothing to show for all the time. Absolutely. And the same thing with dues.
Yeah.
Like we were talking, like I said earlier, like $400 a year is $33 a month. Dude, I got a wife and 3 kids. I'm spending $70, $80 every time I go eat out. Right? You can't go eat out for $33 a month anymore. I mean,
dude, I have somebody recommend a book to me, and every time I get on Amazon, I'll look for that book and I'll see 10 others underneath it that I want, and I'll just go toot, 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 toot.
Yep.
And $30 is gone within 2 books.
Yeah.
Much less, the $130 that I just spent that I didn't tell my wife about.
Yeah, I mean it's about priorities. You find money for what's important to you.
Right. That's what it all boils down
to. And frankly, and I think this was discussed. I saw it on TikTok. Someone was talking about it, but the question was, so what happens if they can't pay dues? They get kicked out, and it's situational, right? If we raise our dues, and this is something that was always brought out because you're afraid of losing people. It's like, look, if we raise our dues to $400, and you have a brother who shows up, or at least attempts to show up, and
is actively involved,
is active, and is attempting to pay, right? But he can't for whatever reason. That's where Masonic charity comes in.
Right.
That means
that's brotherly love.
That's brotherly love, right? So like if you've got an older brother and he shows up, and for whatever reason, like he lives on Social Security, he didn't have much money, sure, and he say he can't contribute anything, but he comes to the lodge, he does everything he can. Yeah, I mean, pay his dues.
If they're in that age, I would recommend to buy an endowment for that brother.
Yeah, raise money for an endowment or remit his dues for a year or something. But like if you have a brother and he's been paying his dues all year, say we're doing monthly, for example, and he gets fired from his job and he can't pay for 3 months, pass the hat, right?
Yes.
A lodge has options, right? And it goes back to pride and ego. Like we're afraid. We don't like to say, hey, I need help. It's because we're men, right? But we're brothers. We're family. You should be able to talk to your family and say, hey, I'm having this problem. That's why we call each other brother, because we're family at that point.
Now, one thing I would say is that when my lodge was founded in 1852, the dues were equivalent to about, what was it that we calculated that time? Was it it was like $800 a year was the equivalent of the dues. And so with that kind of money coming into the lodge, you can certainly afford to extend that brotherly love to somebody who needs it.
Yep.
But you know, it was also it's also in the bylaws that in order for somebody to get that, you have to be able to look at how they're living their life and make sure that it really is a hardship and not just them being lazy and flamboyant. You know, not the guy. You got to make sure it's not the guy that's going and buying a pack of cigarettes and a lottery ticket every day on, you know, on retirement, buying a lottery ticket and cigarettes every day. You know, that's not the guy that gets the dues for free. But you know, each situation is circumstantial.
Yeah.
And they should be treated as such. And sometimes, like Justin said, sometimes it's not the full amount you need to pay. You just need to help them catch up, help them bridge the gap.
Yeah.
But if we had the right due structure, we'd be able to do that. We would be able to show that brotherly love and affection.
Agreed. So we're looking at about an hour and a half here. I think we should probably get to wrapping up. However, before we get, I wasn't planning on a long talk, but it's been such a good talk tonight. I don't want to shut it down too early, but it is getting late. I do want to say two things, if you don't mind me doing my final thoughts real quick, Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
Let me actually. Oops. So first of all, I shared a link in the chat, and that link is actually for those of you that are maybe coming in late or didn't hear about it. Dennis and I created a video earlier this week, how to become a Freemason, right? And it's actually brought quite a few people here to this tonight. But those of you that haven't seen it, if you are interested, and I'm not suggesting you have to do it, but it would make a great addition to like a Facebook page or a website if you like to embed it. Use it as a tool, right? And I know it sounds like self-promotion, right? But I'm going to be frank with you. The 10, 20, 100 people that it might send isn't really a huge benefit to us, right? It's a benefit to the fraternity. And that's what it's intended for. So it's there as a tool. I shared it just in case you didn't know where it was at or you didn't hear about it and you want to learn more about it. Also, I guess I got three things I need to bring up. I'm also going to include a link to our Facebook page. We had to create a new Facebook page. And since we have so many new people here, I'm going to share a link for that. Also, please feel free to join us on Facebook to keep up with all of our information. Lastly, and a lot of you Texas Masons, if you're a Texas Mason, September 16th, Corpus Christi, we're going to be hosting the Masonic Improvement Summit. And it is going to be, for all the positive talk I've heard about these conversations we're having here on the live, it's going to be in person with like-minded brothers. And it's going to have
and it's not us talking. It's actually the leaders of Freemasonry talking.
It's going to be Kyle Walquist is going to be our keynote speaker. Right Worshipful Jim Rumsey is going to be presenting. Chris Williams, Brad Kohanke, Right Worshipful Lucas Mitten from Arkansas. He's the senior grand
senior deacon.
And then Right Worshipful Steve Almager, who is the Deputy Grand Master of New Mexico. And oh man, I put myself in the corner here.
You also have Robert Park,
who
is one of the leading esoteric minds in Texas. And then last but not least, the Grandmaster of New Mexico, Brother Thomas Shank.
Yeah.
And this is a testament to the Freemasonry that we discussed.
Yeah.
Right? These are all friends. There was a need down there because the Lexington was not supported this year by Grand Lodge, which it will be in the future, by the way, thanks to this project showing that it was important enough to make sure it is. But this year it was not. And so we stepped up and we said, look, we can help. We can fill this gap. So we made some phone calls to some friends. And they all said yes. They said yes to Freemasonry, and they loosened up their cable toe, and they said, here we come. And some of them are bringing a lot of friends with them from out of state.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a great time, and you're going to learn from some of the smartest people in Freemasonry in this region. not just Texas, but in this region, and some real leaders who care about your takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen to you once you leave the summit? That's their mindset. They want you to be an inspired leader when you walk away from this summit.
Yep.
And like I said, it's not just in the night talking. You're going to get to hear it from other brothers and see exactly how like-minded we really are. And we'll have a good, after all the events, we'll actually sit down at the hotel and we'll all drink whatever our favorite drinks are. Mine will be scotch, and I will have a couple of bottles for anybody who likes scotch. We'll have some drinks, and we'll get to talk Freemasonry like we like to.
Yep.
But that's going to be an awesome event. So if you haven't heard about it and you're a Master Mason, I would love for you to come down. Just go to Eventbrite to our to the program and sign up. And there's also a festive board involved in between the summit and the Master Mason's degree on the Lexington.
Yes.
I didn't even mention what was going on with the Lexington. I just said the Lex. But it's a Master Mason's degree on the aircraft carrier, the USS Lexington, that's at Corpus Christi.
Yes. I will also share a link right now, and I know we're wrapping up, but I'm going to share a link for the event because you do have to buy tickets. Oh, that's a huge link. Let's just get rid of that real quick. But and that's because, like we talked about, you can't provide value without for free, right? And so,
but this is actually a lot less than some of the other ones that have the education and the festive board combined.
Oh yeah, I was looking at another one, really popular one here in Texas, and it's
that we actually love.
Yeah, we love it, but it's with the festive board, the actual event ticket are separate, and if you do both, it's like $160. This is like this is I don't remember what Eventbrite charges, but I think we charge like 120. And Eventbrite
115,
and Eventbrite adds a little bit extra on top.
They get like 9 or 10, so it ends up being 125.
But there's the link for the event. If you could be there, if you enjoy these conversations, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your lodge, and try to get as many lodge brothers to come because you will benefit. You'll benefit immensely. I'm going to benefit from it. Dennis is going to benefit.
I can't wait. Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to it because all the great talks I know we're going to have. I know it's going to. I mean, it's going to fire me up. I'm fired up talking about it and thinking about it, and I know I'm going to leave fired up. And I think we need more events like this in Texas Freemasonry. Like OLT is great. OLT will educate you, and it'll get you excited.
Yes,
right.
It gives you the nuts and bolts on how to run your life. It really does.
But this
and I love it.
This will leave you fired up, and that's the goal.
Yes.
So
this helps you see that there are other like-minded leaders out there that will help you get there.
Yep. If anyone watches this later, the link is also in the description. Anand says they wish they can go, but they're not initiated yet. We're hoping to do it again. So
that's okay. We're going to do it again in another area next year.
Yep.
Maybe not Texas though.
Yeah.
But anyways, in fact, it probably won't be Texas, but it'll be close.
Let's get through this one first, and then we'll see. But yeah, there will be another one.
You know, I'm bold. I'm bold and beautiful.
I know.
I'm bold and beautiful. I know
you're bold. I don't know about the rest.
I'll. Do
you have any final thoughts?
I'll make sure
that you want to add real quick.
One that really touched on me tonight. Well, first I want to say that this was not to lowbrow anybody on how you dress going to lodge. This is just saying there is a reason to step up our mental capacity, our spiritual capacity, and in doing that, it normally would exude in your external capacity. So, but it was never to lowbrow anyone in particular or make you feel bad about where your circumstances are at this time. There's times when I really had a tough time, and it was hard for me to, put it together.
Mm-hmm.
But when I decided something was important to me, I put it together. So it's just a matter of making that decision. So it's not a matter of lowbrowing, and I would never turn away anyone from coming to the lodge. Never.
I agree.
Now, that being said, there was a brother that had mentioned that He enjoyed what we were saying because he doesn't get that experience in lodge. And he believes it to be a good thing, but he doesn't get that experience in lodge. This is really what inspired Justin and I to get started in all this. And it is because, especially in Texas, there's so many brothers that feel like they're on a little island out in the middle of nowhere. And they feel like their Freemasonry is right here within this circle, and that's the only circle there is. But we're here to tell you that that's not the only place Freemasonry resides. And if sometimes you got to travel for it, but we can help you get there. Yeah. We can help you find those like-minded members. Those like-minded members are going to be down at the summit. Those like-minded members are going to be going to OLT. Those like-minded members are going to be going up to Masonicon. Those like-minded members travel to meet with other like-minded members. Mm-hmm. And we know them. And we can help you get to know them. And that's our goal, is to take you off your island and help you find your people. That's our whole goal in this. And in doing that, we're going to make a better fraternity for the next generation for years to come. And that's what this is all about. We've done it for a long time. A lot of times we get harping on something and it sounds kind of negative, but we're doing it because we want it ingrained in people's skull that it can be different. Mm-hmm. We see it be different. We don't just talk about it. We've actually seen it, and we've seen it successful. And so that's why we're willing to say that this can and should be what we're aiming for, and not just accepting it for exactly what it is today. I don't do that in my personal life, and I'm not going to do it in my Freemason.
Love it.
I'm always going to strive to do better. Otherwise, we love you. I love you, Justin. I'm glad to see you tonight. Glad you got to see me.
Yeah.
All you other brothers, keep it between the points.
Thank y'all for hopping on tonight, and we do this every week, every Sunday.
Thank you to all the new listeners.
Appreciate you too, Anon. Yeah, thanks for all the new people. Thanks for appreciate the new members. Yeah.
Check out that new video. It's pretty cool.
Check it out. Yeah, check out the link. Check out the Facebook page. Check out the Eventbrite. By the way, those of you that just joined we don't really call you members, we call you Inner Circle. We do Zooms with you guys, exclusively with you guys. So keep an eye out for those too.
Yep.
All right.
And you're gonna love my British accent. Wait till you hear it.
Yeah, it's all Dennis. Yeah, Dennis drinks a few scotches and he turns British.
Oh man, don't make me laugh. My ribs still hurt so bad.
Oh, I forgot he fell off a step stool. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.